I have all these things. I own a construction company and I'm going to work with a little tool bag and a hammer every day in my wife's car.
Hey, welcome back to the Beards and Business podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pacheco, and today I have a long-time friend of mine, Dustin Merrell. Dustin actually was one of the very first businesses I started together back in McKinney, Texas. We were about 20 years old. And along the journey, Dustin's been an entrepreneur for a number of years. And currently right now, he's getting educated on a new skill and trade. And so welcome to the show, Dustin. I know we've chatted a little bit before the show, so it's really great to catch up with you, man. How you doing?
I'm great, man. I appreciate you having me on. You sent me the invite. You talked to me about this thing. I've been completely nervous because I don't know how we're supposed to talk about me being an entrepreneur when it's been an immaculate amount of failures, but we're going to talk about that, I guess, aren't we?
Yeah. So before we jump too deep into the entrepreneur world, and again, this Beards in business, and so it doesn't matter what you're doing in the business environment. It's more of just being out there and in the workforce or wherever you may be. And so we can just kind of take that load off a little bit. And so we'll just kind of chat a little bit about, where you grew up, a little bit of your personal life, and just kind of tell the audience who you are.
Well, like yourself, I'm from Tom Bean, Texas. Graduated in 2001, so we're a little aged at this point. Immediately joined the military, did some really cool stuff in the military, came home, got connected with you. You gave me my first job out of the military, shining shoes in the men's locker room at a country club. And that's pretty much when it went downhill. No, I'm just playing. That's when I really started to, with just the shoe shines and the opportunity to have something that was mine and to grow that and to take pride in that and to extend a certain amount of effort to have a good product to get more clients. That's really when things kind of started changing. And that's, I know that you saw me connecting with that. And then we, of course, try to do the website, the advertising agency. So
what was that, like 2003, 2004, right?
About 2005, because I got out
okay
at the end of 2004, and that was a pretty quick thing that happened. So
yeah.
At the same time we were starting that, I was also starting the shoe shine business with all the dry cleaners in the area that we live in. Learned a very valuable lesson about that. We can talk about that too. Great.
Yeah, let's just take it back just a little bit. Let's go back into the personal world before we jump into the business, and just tell us a little bit about who Dustin is as a person. We know that you went to Tom Bean, Texas. Great.
Yep.
900 people in that town, and we really got some interesting roots there in a small town, being able to play sports together and things of that nature. And then, of course, tell us a little bit about your personal life right now.
Sure. So right now, I'm just period in general. I am a vivid and just love being in the outdoors. Big time fisherman, big time hunter. The most important thing, I don't know why I jumped into that immediately, but I am a father of 4 and super happy to be that guy. I love the kids. I love coming home to the kids. I love playing with them. I love taking them camping. I love just getting them outside, letting them scrape their knees and make mistakes and just do what they're supposed to do so they can develop properly. So that's the most important thing. I'm happily married. I'm out punted my coverage when it comes to my wife. I mean, she's an amazing human being. She's been a very good, let's say, she's helped me become the man who I am today, and she is going to continue and push me to be a better man every day. And she does it without saying it. So she's amazing. I love her more than anything in the world, and I thank the Lord that I have her every day. She's absolutely awesome.
That's a great partnership to have, and anybody that's ever met Taylor obviously knows that. And
Yeah,
so she was the best thing that's ever happened to you.
absolutely.
And so yeah, 4 kids. I've got 4 kids as well, so we understand that the big family life.
Yeah,
It takes a while to get a table at a restaurant type situation. Uh,
yeah,
Can't
yeah.
just walk in, table of 4, please. Type situation. And so, uh, you know, tell us a little bit about, your transition from the military. So you go into the military,
Yeah.
17.
Yeah.
What are you going? 17, 18.
So going to the military at 17, get out at 21. I was a U.S. Naval surface search and rescue swimmer. So my
Thank you
job
for your
was to,
service.
oh, you're very welcome. I appreciate you keeping in touch with me the whole time I was in. That was a solid friendship, solid relationship. Got out of the military, really loved what I did, by the way, being a rescue swimmer. Got out of the military. Once again, started working with you, struggled with a little bit of a transition. I was always a bit of a rush junkie, I guess, if you will. Immediately got the motorcycle, little bitty fast cars, just, you know what I mean? Like it just, I had a hard time transitioning to just normal life. Like that was a big thing for me. I can honestly say that now and say that confidently because I can look back on it and just once again all the mistakes and stuff and just dumb purchases and it's just obviously I'm at a better place right now and don't require stuff like that in terms like to make me happy. I have a very simple life and it's taken me way too long to get it to this point. So, but I'm proud of that simple life and I'm proud of the collection of people that have been around me and I'm just it's taken a lot of failure and a lot of bad decisions to realize how good I really have it. Like
Mm.
it's as simple as it is. And so I'm in a kind of a rebuilding phase in terms of business, and of course we'll get into that here in a little while. But yeah, just loving the family stuff. I was doing the bike riding stuff for a while, running pretty hardcore there, just reaching out and trying to do things, pulling myself out of my comfort zone, and doing things that I mentally just didn't think I could do. Right, pushing my body to a certain limit, and I felt like that makes me a better person because I'm hitting goals, reaching goals, and I'm just such a better person when I'm completely exhausted. Just way better person when I'm exhausted. So, but love that side of things. And yeah, it's pretty basic, man. Hunting, fishing, kids, wife. I love my job right now. I love doing what I'm doing. It is like I do work for myself, but I work with a group of people, and it's been an amazing adventure so far. And we'll get into that here in a bit.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, you said you ran a lot, right? You did some pretty cool runs and
Yep.
some cycling events. And so what was
Yep.
your favorite cycling, favorite running event or combo?
So these things were all in a training protocol for me trying to do an Ironman. Took an injury, still recovering from the injury, but hit a lot of milestones in my life. I ran a 31-mile trail run, ultra marathon in Arkansas. That one was probably the coolest thing I've ever done. I never thought I could do it, but a year prior to that date, I had purchased that run and hadn't ran a mile in probably 6 years. Right. So I forced myself, hey, you just paid $200 for this race in Arkansas. Now you got to start training for it. So woke up that morning, 4:30, took off running, started off doing about a half a mile, worked my way up to a couple miles. And then it kind of got serious. Cycling, I did a century in Wichita Falls, Texas. It was 101 miles. And once again, it was just one of those things that I never imagined I could do. I did set a pretty high goal. There's about 15,000 people that run that or that ride that race. I really wanted to get in the top 500 for my first century ride. Did not get that, but did get 550th. So it's splitting hairs maybe. So,
It's a lot of
but
riders.
it was a goal. And once again, this is about setting goals. This is about reaching those goals and, moving forward. And I've been really focusing on, especially with what I'm doing right now, today's successes are tomorrow's standards. And I try to remind myself that every morning. I have it on a postcard in my truck right above like my mirror. And I just make sure every day that there's a couple things I do. I say a little prayer to get me through the day. I go through the motivation, and then I'll pull the book up on audio while I'm driving to wherever I'm driving that day. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you seem pretty goal oriented. What has that always been who you are, or did that change over recent?
Absolutely not. I always wondered how I could have such a fresh idea and such an amazing idea and it never work out. Well, because I never set a goal to you have to, in order to reach a big goal, you got to set some small goals to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's in a lot of cases, maybe not in everything, but everything that I've tried, I feel like if I would have established that regiment, then maybe I would have had better successes or a different outcome. But no, absolutely, I'm 100% goal oriented. Whether it be, hey, I got to read this many books this year, or I need to run this many miles this year, or I need to even make sure that I'm spending this much time just with the family, because we all get busy and we all get focused in on something and we lose track of what really is happening in our lives, and that's our family needs us there to be supportive and to just help. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So one of the big goals for me is to make sure that I'm a dad first. And there's you can agree or disagree with me, but sometimes that's hard.
Absolutely.
But as long as I feel like I keep it fresh at the top of my head, then it's a really easy maintainable goal to hit every day.
Yeah.
So
No, being a dad today is a very difficult task. There is a lot of pressure to be all things to everyone, whether it be your work, your spouse, your children, a coach for them a lot of times, and sometimes an educator for them with their homework, plus be able to help around the house, with the wife. And there's a tremendous amount of effort, and I think that we come from a generation where it wasn't like that, so we didn't really get that modeled for us. And so trying to balance that and realizing who we want to be, and like you said, putting our family first. My wife still makes out our calendar pretty much either for the year or at least for the quarter, and then I schedule my business meetings around our family life. And there were times whenever I would say, hey, listen, we got a little too much on the calendar from the family life. Like I need a little bit more on the business. We got 30 hours a week. That's pretty good, right? It's like, no, I need about 60, right? Like business people, entrepreneurs, only people work 80 hours a week, not to go work for somebody else for 40. And it's one of those things we're always trying to claw that time back. But no, that's I really honor that. That's a really worthy goal, is to put family first. So thanks for sharing that with us and our audience. So we're going to transition a little bit into the business world. So kind of take us through your journey. Like, got out of the military, came to work for the country club, and you got back there in the men's locker room, and kind of had your own little business kind of thrown to you, right? And so tell us a little bit about that. Well, I mean, not really, you had to build it, but it was an idea that basically had to be grown.
Yeah. So we had, I think when I had walked in, the guy prior had started that shoe club, or maybe it was something that was happening for a while before. But when I took it over, I think there was 22 clients, and the 22 clients were paying, I think, $25 a month. And they were just getting unlimited shoe shines. And if they wanted an extra, if they wanted their cleats replaced, I think he was charging $15 to do that. So I just grouped it all together and said, hey, for $35, because he was buying just boxes. And I figured out real quick that if I buy in bulk, that I can make money off this thing. Like I'm not, the extra $10 is nothing. I'm only going to spend $2 if I buy in bulk. So I raised it to 35, and then we got that shoe club is what we called it. I think we got it up to about 65 people at one point. So it was very, I just remember being there till 3 o'clock in the morning, cleaning mud off people's shoes, shining, and mouth going dry from spit shining all night long. But that was that was also a crazy time for me with my son being born, and the things that came along with that, with him being special needs and being in the hospital for a while, and us making a transition. That was the only form of stability that I had left in life, because kind of things went chaos. So it was a bad decision. And this is the lesson that I learned. I dove into work as a replacement for having to show emotion, because my life was in shambles, or my life was under I wouldn't say in shambles, but it was under a lot of stress, because I had a special needs child that the doctor said we're going to make it 9 hours and 9 days and 9 weeks. And now he's 15 years old. And
yeah, it's so crazy.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. But the things involved in that, I mean, you were there with me. I didn't handle it very well. I probably drank too much, probably stayed out too late. And it definitely had an effect on the relationship that I had at that time. So I can look back on it now. I talk to his mom about that pretty regularly. We're on very good terms. We have to be in order to be supportive for him. But it was not always good. I look back on it now, and I wished that I would have been grown up and applied a little more effort to be kind at that point. And it's really easy to do that. It really is easy just to be kind. And here, when you are trying to take care of something as serious as that. So a lot of growth came from that. And, you're forced into growing up when you deal with stuff like that. But on the business side, I knew that in order for me to start getting time with him, that I needed to start working for myself at some point also, which is why we kind of started this whole Dustin works for himself. And that's when it gets crazy, for sure.
Right.
It's just, when you make that decision, you don't always have a skill. You just say, hey, I want to own a business, or I want to work for myself. So wherever you're working at that time. So I just so happen to have been in construction. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this. You okay with that?
Yeah. Let's go.
Well, I was a general contractor for a construction company locally. And after seeing the money that you can make doing what we were doing, so roofing, fencing, stuff like that, I didn't feel like I needed to necessarily understand what was happening or how it was happening. I just needed to know what was needed on the job site, and I would let my subcontractors take over everything else. So whether or not they were doing good or bad, it didn't matter to me, because I really didn't know, because I didn't have any experience. But I just trusted that everybody was going to take care of everything. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made. And when I started my first construction company, I put a little bit too much trust into a certain amount of people that I probably shouldn't have trusted. And it was all because I wasn't willing to go out and figure out how to do things myself. For instance, if somebody, say we're roofing a house, I could order the materials, but if somebody was putting something on wrong, I didn't know any better. So the only way for me to really find out what's right or wrong is for me to go do it. So I forced myself away from selling roofs for a while and got on a roofing crew and started to roof, so I could better understand why they were using those materials, what kind of materials they were using, what tools were being used, what were effective tools, what were ineffective tools, what were great methods, what were ineffective methods. And I really just kind of wanted to understand what was happening. When I decided to go back to selling and started my second roofing company with that knowledge, it changed everything. It changed my approach. It changed my confidence when I was talking to people. It changed my outlook on what I was doing. I had confidence. I wasn't guessing anymore. And I wasn't relying on anybody to tell me what was right or wrong. I knew what was right or wrong. But it took time for me, and it took blood, sweat, and tears on top of these roofs in Texas when it's 106 degrees, and but it was something that needed to happen, and I'm glad I did it. Um, that is a very saturated market in this area right now. This is kind of a it's kind of a hail storm area. So, it's tough. I feel like I could compete because of the knowledge and because of the relationships, but I just felt like it was kind of time to move on to something a little more intimate. I've always had the vision of being a home builder. You know that. I've talked to your father, who is a phenomenal home builder, and we've talked about some things. And when I talked to Bill, can I say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I talk to Bill is a great reminder to me of, don't try to do this without having the knowledge. Don't try to be a boss. Don't try to be a contractor. Don't try to be the manager of this project unless you really know what you're doing. And that's made me really step back and really want to learn all the aspects. I was working for a company building small homes, and I learned a lot doing that. But once again, I had guys coming in, and I would say, this is what needs to get done. And they would look at me like I was stupid because I didn't really see it for what it was. I was just saying, hey, I need this done. But I wasn't looking at it and seeing that it wasn't going to get done that way because this was in the way or whatever. I just always thought, well, these guys will just take care of it. So where I'm at right now is I'm back to school. I work with some guys that are absolutely phenomenal, amazing woodworkers. Uh, I learn something every day. I love going in there and doing these things. And there will be a moment, not right now, not anytime soon. I'm not in a big hurry, but there will be that day where I am going to be the home builder that I want to be, because I have the knowledge, because I have the experience, because I have the confidence. And until I feel like it's time for me to make that jump, I'm just going to continue to sit back and be a student and better understand the process. Materials are out of this, just so high right now. There's out of this world in terms of pricing. The industry and COVID and all these things have made it really tough to build. So I'm in a really good position right now because a lot of builders are in contracts from a year ago that are building houses and can't build it for what they signed a contract.
Yeah, losing money. Sure.
I really dodged a bullet because I was once again in that industry. Decided to back out right before COVID to gain some knowledge and to get some good schooling, school of hard knocks kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been a phenomenal experience. And I look forward to going to work tomorrow, every day.
Well, that's
Yeah.
some really great wisdom. A lot of people try the old fake it till you make it, and it seems like
Yeah.
that's where you tried in the beginning, because it was like, just go fake it till you make it. And sales can a lot of times lead you down that path to the fake it till you make it mentality. And then all of a sudden you get yourself into those situations, you go, wait a second, I actually don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And so, being able to take that step back, one of the people that I watched a lot of their content for a number of years. I don't watch it very much anymore, but Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this, and he talks about, who cares what anybody else thinks about where you are. If you're taking a step back so you can take 5 steps forward, what are you waiting for? And many people, some good friends of ours did this too. They took a step back. They got out of debt completely, moved in with their family, got out of debt completely. And, now are in one of the best financial situations that they could ever be in. And, it's because they were willing to humble themselves. They were willing to say, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And they took that step back in order to take that step forward. And so I guarantee you, whoever you end up building that home for is going to be a very, very happy person. So,
Yes,
keep working hard at that, man.
And her name is my wife because
Yeah.
we're about to start.
Just like my dad, right? We tested the first home on ourselves. We just like my family, we tested the first home on ourselves, and so we built it. It took us a couple of years, but we built it all by ourselves, and had a beautiful finished product at the end of the time. And then my dad had a beautiful, wonderful career. So it's pretty awesome how it goes hand in hand.
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
Well, let's kind of talk a little bit about that little curl that you got going up. It looks like you got a little something you're working on there.
This is one of those things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was beards in business. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
And me having a beard, or whatever you want to call this, and owning a business, I was doing some math a couple days ago in preparation for this, and I'm pretty sure, and I feel that this is a very accurate number, but the longer the beard gets, it starts off, I lose about 35% of all the business right out of the gate. If they see this beard thing, they're like, whoa, creep. But the longer it gets, the more homeless I look, and I just don't get any more business. So I try to keep it clean shaved, but this is a special occasion, so I decided to grow it out a little bit for you. So.
Okay.
If I cut this out, people think I'm a firefighter with the thing, and I'm not trying to take anybody's credit. So
Hey, you served your country. You go be a fireman. So tell us a little bit about that. I'm interested in this piece right here. You said the longer the beard got, you could tell that the business would start to drop off. Now, is that because of the area that you were working in, or was that across the board? Because I know you've worked in multiple areas before, and you've had facial hair for as long as I've known you. So, I think you came out of the womb with facial hair now. But
the way that it works, and believe it or not, once it hits a certain length, I'm like splotchy in certain areas, and so it doesn't grow. It doesn't grow full. Like yours, you have a very manly mane. Like yours it's coming down. It's flowy. It looks like a river. It's beautiful. It's just coming down, and it's just wonderful. Mine just goes this way, and then there's a spot right there. So no, for real though, after a certain amount of time and a certain amount of growth, it is hard for me to maintain it.
Yeah,
it just does what it wants to do. So I would go knocking on doors, doing cold, not cold calling, just door knocking for construction, or we'd hit an area that got hit by hail, and I'd knock on the door, and I just started to notice like ring, the little ring doorbells.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When the beard was long, I was getting no doors were being answered. And when I'd shave it and go back the next day, they'd answer it. So I was like, okay, this is gonna work. So I was losing business because of the beard.
Hey, you know what? We're talking about something that's real, right? I mean, like this is a real thing. Go into a grocery store, if you haven't brushed it, or have it pretty well kept, or something, you're gonna get treated a certain way. And so there's some real truth behind what you're talking about here. So
now the percentage of people that decide to hire me with everything that's going on, those are the people that I want to work for though too, because they're the people that are like, okay, all right, and they're normally the most patient. They're normally the most understanding. And they're just not judgmental. Like they're not judging me right out of the gate. They're like, "Oh, this guy's got a pretty nice little mustache," Let's go ahead. But the people that I did work for though, still maintain relationships with them. So it's crazy what you get. But I can't. This when you're building a business, you can't be particular about who you work for. Like you just kind of have to get as much work as you can. Give them the best product that you can give them, and just try to make them happy. Exit.
Exit.
Yeah.
All right.
How about I just got to know with you and your business or businesses, does your beard and mustache affect what you're doing?
So the interesting thing about me is that I never had facial hair. And
Right.
so, I never even had the goatee or anything. And so whenever it came down to my beard, I didn't grow it until COVID. So we were all behind computers. So nobody was
Yeah.
really seeing me in person. Actually, I think you're one of the very first people that saw the beginning stages of my beard. I was like a month in whenever I came to Texas. And that was like the beginning phases of the beard. And, so no, the response has been really unique, especially in the financial service industry. Beards, it's funny, I just put a poll up on LinkedIn. I think we had like 15,000 views on it, but
Wow.
44% of the people said they didn't care if their financial services person had a beard or not. 38% said as long as it's well groomed. Like 4% said no, clean shaven. And then like 12%
Wow.
said, beards, beards, beards. That was like the different things like beards, beards, beards. I don't care. Just get, I love beards.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
which was really interesting to me. And, the first thing that I get, especially with the curl lip, now, right now, I got it trimmed. And so they cut off the full curl over, but I mean, it was a full circle. One of my photo shoots, I've got the full circle over. And the conversation is, whoa, look at that stash. And so that's kind of how it's all started. It's most people are really intrigued by it because it is a little in your face, right? You pop onto a camera and the first thing they see is this, curled up mustache and a guy sitting in a business suit on the other side, and they're like, wow, okay, all right. So, if anything, I think it's helped a little bit, just kind of break the ice, especially whenever we're talking about the things that we talk about, like liability consulting. And we're talking about, big numbers, talking about, heavy impacts and major pain problems that companies are having. So it's kind of that icebreaker to just kind of say, okay, this guy's interesting, it's unique, it's different. So whatever strategy and solution he's bringing, it better be unique and interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna help to break the ice. But yeah. Now,
Yeah.
driving down the road, on the other hand, I live in a very conservative northern Arizona city. And there's the population here is mainly retirees. And
Yeah.
so I'll pull up to a stoplight and look over and they'll be like shaking their head at me, which is kind of hilarious because my great grandmother, who's still doing great, she loves it. She's like, "Oh man, that looks so awesome." So it's just interesting the different feedbacks that you get.
Yeah.
But the whole facial hair thing has kind of been that hippie mentality, right? It's if you've got the beard, then you were kind of looked at as you need to be clean shaven because that means you're professional and ready to go for things.
Yeah.
And culture has shifted a lot. I mean, with the piercings and the tattoos, a beard is typically, down the ladder a little bit, as long as it's taken care of, right? Now,
Yeah.
if I walk in and it's all ratty and got food in it, yeah, I probably should be treated the way that I'm looking unprofessional, right? But so yeah, that's pretty much my side of
Jump on the Zoom call. Anthony, you had macaroni and cheese for lunch.
it.
Yes,
you
I
know,
did.
what's the worst part is that eating a cheeseburger is difficult now.
Man.
Eating a cheeseburger, and that's like my favorite food, right? Is a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Good old cheeseburger. And like you got to cut it in half now to make sure that it fits
Yeah.
in and doesn't get all in there, especially if you're out somewhere. I'm just constantly like this, doing one of
Yeah.
these things. Is it holding up still? So
Yeah.
good stuff. Good stuff. Well, next part of our show really is just to kind of talk about anything that you got going on. If there's any type of promotional things or anything that you're working on, maybe a couple of goals that you're working on, or anything that you'd like to say to the audience to kind of motivate or anything of that nature.
So I'm in a place right now where I'm a David Goggins fan. Have I told you about
Oh
David
yeah,
Goggins? Yeah.
absolutely.
So I'm a huge David Goggins fan. I'm constantly listening to well, I own his book. I've read it a couple times, and I'll even listen to it on audio, on Audible. But just his whole idea of I need to make myself uncomfortable,
Mm.
daily, and
Get
I need
comfortable being uncomfortable, right?
yes,
Let's get comfortable being uncomfortable.
get comfortable being uncomfortable, absolutely. And so I make myself, I force myself to set a goal every day, to become uncomfortable with something. So if it's I need to change the way that I use a saw, right? So there's so many different ways for you to cut when you're using a compound miter saw. um, these are the things that I took for granted. These are the things that I never really learned properly. I never really learned how to measure something properly. I never really learned how to cut proper angles. And so, like, in order for me to really soak in the proper way to do things, I make myself uncomfortable. When somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, do it like this," like, you really need to do it like this. It's really, as long as it's been working for me, why would I change that? You know what I mean? But I really have been telling myself, like, come out of your skin a little bit and allow their ideas, and allow everybody that surrounds you to tell you what they've been doing, because it's probably better. They've been doing this for 10 or 15 years, and you've been doing it for a couple months. Maybe the way that they do it is done that way because they've been through all the mistakes. They've shot they've nicked their finger with the blade trying to do this and that. So as I become uncomfortable and as I put myself in an uncomfortable situation, I'm growing, I'm blossoming, I'm doing an incredible thing. I'm doing things that I've always wanted to do, that are so basic, and that's the problem. And I feel like that's what's happening in this area, or anywhere really. You hear about the bad contractor that somebody paid and they didn't get it done properly, or they weren't happy with it. And I really, by doing what I'm doing right now, I'm separating myself from that, because I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna know even better what to do moving forward. I'm gonna be that guy that's knowledgeable. I study it. I come home and I uh, when I when we're doing, let's see, like, joints, when we make joints to put two pieces of wood together in a certain way. There's a certain way to do that. There's a certain way to cut that. There's a certain way to measure that. Well, if we do that, say we did that today, I will come home, grab the joint book, and check it out and find out what are different ways to do it, what are more efficient ways to do it. And then when I go back to work the next day, and then have more confidence going and doing that, uh, my the people that I work with, they're just like, that is insane that you already have that figured out. Well, I go home, I'm infatuated with it. This is what I want to do. And it hurts my heart because, once again, these guys kind of take this, they take advantage of their skills, and they take advantage of what they're doing. And I just love it. I love watching what they're doing. I love learning from them. I love just the smell of wood. I love being constructive. I love building things that are beautiful. I love making people happy. And I'm just kind of, like I said, I'm starting over, and I'm really just starting from the bottom, making my way back up, and just enjoying every step of the process. It's been phenomenal.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's some great. You know, when we really step back and think about what you're saying here, it's the taking in everything, right? If we were all to stop and take in what we're doing, and what you're saying is that the workers that you're working with, it's an unconscious consciousness, right? So their competency. So they're so competent that they're unconscious of it, and they don't even think about it anymore. It's just natural. It's just the new normal, right?
Yeah.
And when you're taking in everything that you're seeing, you're actually appreciating every little piece of it. Eventually, you're probably going to become unconsciously competent as well. But going through the journey, right? You're in the dirt right now, learning every piece of it. It's going to make the cloud so much better, right? The
Yeah.
cloud's going to be a sweet cloud. So really
I
appreciate
feel
your
like
story.
I feel like I did it all backwards, right? So when I started this the last business, which is still open, I have a partner in the business. I think I might have introduced you to Kevin, with
Mhm.
Summit Property Services. Me and him had a conversation, and I just kind of told him, like, we're not ready. We've made money. We have people working for us. We have income. The bank account isn't it is growing every day, but there's something missing, and it's just the confidence in what we're doing. I'm making bad decisions and going and having to clean up everybody's mess with no knowledge, and it's going to come back, and it's really going to burn us if I don't correct this. And in that same conversation, my partner, who was in charge of marketing, advertising, accounting, he took care of that stuff. He's phenomenal at it. Admitted to some faults in himself, that he wasn't getting us enough business, and he just wasn't doing what we kind of agreed on. We still talk. We're still on the path. It's not time yet. He has went off and is working. Is part owner in another construction company. But we talk about this, and his deal is he learned how to do the things that needed to get done for our business, for when it's time. He just sits. He really just is behind a computer for that company, much like he would be for ours. But he went out and gained some value, and I'm going out and I'm gaining that value. I think my process is going to take a little bit longer because I'm going to be the one that's in the trenches every day. But I think we're both happy knowing that when I do decide to take that step back into ownership and back into our business, that it will be a huge step with a ton of confidence. And we're looking forward. So the thing is, like I said, I feel like I kind of did this backwards. We have a facility that stores, it's like a 4,000 square foot building that he has on his property that stores all our tools. We have dump trailers, we have enclosed trailers, we have the truck, to pull these trailers. We have a skid steer. We have all these things. I have all these things. I own a construction company, and I'm going to work with a little tool bag and a hammer every day in my wife's car right now. And so I try to tell, these guys ask me questions every day, like, what do you do? You have all these things. Listen, it's not time for that. I'm lucky that I was able to make enough money to purchase these things for us to have these things, but they're useless until I know how to properly utilize them, respect them, maintain them. That's a big thing. Like, I want to know about every aspect of everything. That way we can save the money by doing our own maintenance, by doing our own organization when it comes to tools and the things that we need. I mean, one of the biggest things that kind of hit me when I started working with these guys is I didn't know the difference between nail guns, right? So there's 5 or 6 different kinds of nail guns that we use, and I never understood the difference. And the gauges of the nail, and the lengths of the nail is dependent on what you're building and how strong you need it, and if it's got to be followed up by a screw. And so I'm just learning all these tweaks, and I'm learning all these different things right now. And it's kind of shameful because I've owned 2 construction companies and didn't know the difference between a 16 gauge nail gun and an 18 gauge nail gun, which is massive. It's huge. Somebody that doesn't understand that, I don't blame them for not knowing it, because you just never had the opportunity to utilize either one of those nail guns. But with me working with them every day, and working with a 23 gauge, and working with a fencer, or working with a staple gun, or working with all these, I know why all these guns are available and what they're used for now. Never knew that. Had no business walking up to a house, giving somebody a quote on a bathroom remodel if I don't know the difference between nail guns. Just saying.
Wow. That's a value hammer that you just dropped. That is a
Yeah.
value hammer. And I think that I think there's going to be a little internal process for all of us that when we hear that we're going to start to think, I mean, we all kind of have that fraud disease thing. I can't remember what the syndrome is, but it's like imposter syndrome. Where we're like, do I really know what I say that I know? And then you start to talk through everything. You think, okay, I really know what I say I know, right? So that's good, right? I know what I know. But to be able to take that step back and look and say, no, I need to go get educated on this properly. It's really, really important. I think a lot of times people will take on things, or maybe they won't get out of their side of their comfort zone because they don't want to go work. I think that's the fear of the unknown. And I don't want to go learn something new. So I'll just stay right here in my little bubble and just keep doing this. I mean, you could have probably continued to do roofs the rest of your life. You knew enough about it that you would be, very successful in your roofing business, but all of the other pieces that are going to come along with it now are going to make all the other pieces work together even better. So, yeah, like I said, the value hammer just got dropped, and we're all gonna take a deep internal look, maybe with a glass of scotch, and say, do I really know what I say I know?
Yeah. Now that we're talking about it, I keep thinking about, I do, like I said, I'm working with guys. I'm 1099. I do work for some guys, but I still own my Christmas light business.
Hmm.
And like I said, we still own, or I'm still partnered up with Summit Property Services, and that's ready to go when I'm ready. But we're going to take some time there and make sure we're going to be the guys that people need. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So,
Sure.
um, and I know that when it's time to pull that trigger and to go in that direction, it'll be, I wouldn't say flawless, but it's going to be
Be a lot
well
smoother.
prepared,
Sure.
and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm in no hurry. Like I said, just go to school every day, get schooled by these guys, learn something every day. Upset, I run into a lot of these things where we'll do something that I've done in the past for somebody, and now I'm learning the correct way to do it now, and so it makes me feel bad. I've never left a job where somebody's been like, "This is absolutely horrible. What in the heck?" Nothing like that. I've always made sure that the product, even if we had to pay somebody extra to come in and finish it the correct way. But once again, that shouldn't have to happen. I should have the ability to see something and know that it's right or wrong immediately. That's what a good contractor is. That's what a good project manager is, and just have a long ways to go. I it was rushed into learning the financial side of it. I was rushed into learning um, the kind of the business side of it. Never had a problem selling anything to anybody. Have been very successful selling since I've started to do it. I keep that in the back pocket right now. I really am confident in that process. The organization involved in it, just making the daily calls, keeping your to-do list. I have 3 to-do lists. Like I have 3 different books. And so, one's like personal at home, the other one's
Sure.
work oriented, and really one is like for phone calls or for emails or for texts or stuff that slipped through the cracks with me. And I noticed that was really helpful when I was out selling work and making the door calls and doing stuff like that. That to do list was massive with
Sure.
follow up, um, with new business, future business, and that's just something that kind of in the past I may have struggled with a little bit, but got really good at it. I really like that. I really like sales. I really like the organization. I really enjoy that side of it. I don't feel like that's like a bicycle, like riding a bicycle type thing. I feel like I'm going to maintain that um, for the remainder of my life. It's fun, you know what I mean.
Right.
But once again, I have a long ways to go in terms of knowledge and enjoying every step of the way.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks for sharing that. We all know that the fortune is in the follow-up, and that is a great strategy to have the different to-do list. I have about 8 of them, so you're not the only one that has multiple to-do list.
Yeah.
Each one of the companies has one, and then I have the personal one and kind of the catch-all
Wow.
one as well. And so completely understand that's the only way that I can stay organized. I don't know how other people do it without it, because
Yeah.
something's eventually going to fall through the cracks. There's too much going on. So, well, Dustin, hey, we really appreciate you coming on to the show, and we wish the best of luck to you, and just appreciate you coming on to say hello to our audience.
I appreciate you having me on. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of your movement. I'm proud of everything you've worked for to get to this point. You're an amazing human being. And I hope that this just keeps going and keeps getting big for you. I really appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you. Take care, Dustin.
All right, man.